Coming up, guns in churches. Is it a safety measure or a step too far?
The basketball lottery is supposed to make getting tickets fairer, but some students are saying the system is rigged.
And it's a Carolina staple. We'll share some of the secrets of this Chapel Hill landmark.
From the UNC School of Media and Journalism, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
From Charleston to Sutherland Springs to Pittsburgh, shootings at religious centers have become a legitimate threat for many congregations. Good afternoon, I'm Peyton Walker.
And I'm Brighton McConnell. Gun security at local churches is our top story. Some churches in the area are using armed security guards at all church gatherings, but other churches say no weapons allowed. Reporter Colleen Brown explores this controversial issue.
When Reverend Darnell Dixon became pastor of Bible Way Temple of Raleigh in 1995, he never would have imagined that one day he would encourage members of his congregation to carry weapons.
We didn't need an approach to security. It was a different climate. Then as time went on, they began to come into churches and began to shoot for whatever reason. In the last 5 years, we really amped up our security to what we have today.
Members of Bible Way Temple either carry or conceal carry a gun at every church event, including their weekly Bible class. Their security team, well licensed and trained, is voluntary.
I have a principle, and that principle is whenever you call people together, you must protect them. So in this day, we must secure them from harm.
But not all churches and pastors, like Pastor Cameron Barr from United Church of Chapel Hill, are so willing to allow guns or security on their grounds.
We want people to be safe, but we also want to live with more love than fear. If we had security guards posted at the doors, like sentries on Sunday mornings, what would that say about the kind of welcoming spirit that we want to have as a congregation?
Professor Molly Worthen at UNC Chapel Hill has studied American religious history and explains how two churches in the same religion could have such differing viewpoints.
People in different religious communities absolutely react differently to gun violence. The African American church tradition has long been one of the few spaces in American society where, Black Americans could hope for some semblance of safety and autonomy and protection. It makes sense that would involve, members with concealed handguns in the congregation. Liberals tend to be more predisposed toward advocating government legislation and kind of top-down reform. They also have, I think, generally a slightly more optimistic view of human nature and a greater hope that humans will change for the good.
Two churches, each with an open door policy, but one with its eye on that open door. I'm Colleen Brown reporting.
Today, lawmakers in the U.S. House of Representatives are considering major gun legislation to enhance background checks for would-be gun owners. It's the first time in 8 years that a bill like this has made it to the House floor.
For nearly 100 years, a plaque sat on Franklin Street honoring Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederate States during the Civil War. Some in the Carolina community called the plaque racist and asked the town to remove it, but it stayed. 2 weeks ago, a new plaque honoring a Black woman was placed next to the Jefferson Davis plaque as a form of protest. But that new plaque has disappeared, causing many people to cry foul. Reporter Sydney Persing joins us live on Franklin Street with the latest in the controversy. Sydney?
There have been a number of twists and turns to this story, and to take you through it all, we'll start right here. This is where the Jefferson Davis highway marker once stood. Activists were working for quite some time to convince the town to remove it, but were initially unsuccessful. So instead, they erected a monument of their own, honoring an unnamed Black woman once whipped by Julian Carr. Citing public safety concerns, the town removed both monuments Friday, saying they'd both be returned to their rightful owners. But just hours after that statement was released, a Confederate group claimed it had stolen the plaque honoring the unnamed Black woman. even posting a photo of it on top of a Confederate flag to Facebook. Activists are angry. Take Action Chapel Hill had this to say on Twitter. Chapel Hill is now saying that when cops got to the monument, the plaque had already been stolen. You tell us whether the original statement was a lie. They went ahead to quote the town saying, "We removed the dedication plaque and will return it to its rightful owners." They then went ahead to tag the mayor of Chapel Hill and the town on Twitter. Now the town says they don't know yet, or are at least not publicly saying, who the two plaques belong to, and activists say this should raise an eyebrow because the town initially said that it couldn't remove the highway marker because they weren't sure who it belonged to. There are a lot of moving parts to this story. That's the latest. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. Peyton.
Sydney Persing live from Franklin Street. Thanks, Sydney.
The numbers are staggering. A new survey reports 48% of undergraduate women at Duke University say they were sexually assaulted while enrolled. That's up from 40% in 2016, with the majority of attacks happening off campus. Vice President for Student Affairs says the numbers are fairly consistent with studies done at, quote, similar institutions.
UNC School of Dentistry has a new name thanks to its largest single donation ever. The school will now be called the UNC Adams School of Dentistry. More than $27 million were gifted to the school on behalf of the estate of the late Dr. Claude Adams III. Dr. Adams practiced dentistry in Durham for nearly 25 years. He wanted to name the school after his parents, Claude and Grace Adams. Faculty say the gift will go to the student scholarships and improving the school's mission.
This is a transformational gift for our school and better positions us more than ever before to become the global model for oral health education and care and discovery.
The money will also extend the Student Service Learning Program, allowing dental students to serve more residents across the state.
So picture this, a herd of students running from building to building in the rain, looking for a former president.
Yeah, I actually saw it all happen myself. I don't know if you were there, but it was crazy. Reporter Emily Wakeman has a story of how fast a rumor can spread and just how powerful it can be.
Carolina Duke game day. Hundreds of students are running across campus into Franklin Street, but it's not in preparation for a Tar Heel victory. It's in the hope of seeing former President Barack Obama.
Someone Snapchatted him that Obama was on campus. So we had just sat down to eat lunch, but we put all our plates away and went out to the quad.
Bethany Lee heard the rumor and joined the mass of students running to Obama's rumored locations despite the cold and rain. Abby Boggins did the same.
So I kind of just left all my stuff there and ran out in the rain, no umbrella.
Social media pegged Obama in many locations, including Carroll Hall and Cosmic Cantina on Franklin Street. Media ethics professor Lois Boynton says the student reaction in her classes was quite electric.
It seemed to have a life of its own very quickly. And, people had heard, for some reason, they heard Carroll was going to be that stop.
We knew fairly early on that he probably wasn't here, but it was that little bit of hope that kept us running.
Brad Ives, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Campus Enterprises, confirmed that it was just a rumor, tweeting, "Barack Obama is not on UNC's campus." No photos ever surfaced of Obama on campus, but Lee says she doesn't regret looking for him.
Honestly, that's the closest I've felt to Carolina that whole semester, so until the Duke game.
Boggins says it reminded her of Carolina's great culture.
It was fun. It kind of felt like a pregame to the rush to Franklin.
Obama did end up making an appearance later that night at Duke to watch the Tar Heels crush the Blue Devils. In Chapel Hill, I'm Emily Wakeman, Carolina Week.
And what's funny is that even though the university says Obama was never on campus and no one has any pictures of him on campus, there are still rumors going around social media that he was definitely here.
Coming up, basketball fans say the new ticket lottery system is making it harder to get tickets.
We've got the story after the break.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
Enable me.
You know you want to.
Don't be shy.
You do it behind my back. So say it to my face.
You don't know me. You know what I am?
I'm a pitcher.
I'm a striker.
I'm a point guard.
I'm a linebacker.
I'm a setter.
Shortstop.
High jumper.
Wrestler.
Defender.
Goalie.
Student.
Student athletes.
That's who we are.
Every spring, Carolina students line up to cheer on the Tar Heels at the Dean Smith Center.
Absolutely, but this semester, some students say a change in the student ticket lottery system is actually hurting their odds of being in the stands. Reporter Molly Jordan has the story.
This year, Carolina Athletics decided to try something new, sending out emails to remind students to enter the basketball ticket lottery before it closes. And this change has some students saying the system is rigged against them. Junior Peter Cohen says he thinks the email reminders are the reason he's only won one lottery this season.
Ever since the ticket office started sending out these emails to everyone, everyone's entering the lottery. Like, I feel like half the time people don't even care about basketball.
And Cohen may be right. According to the ticket office, the email reminders have dramatically increased the number of student lottery entries for each game, up from an average of 4,500 last season to 7,400 this season, a 64% increase. While some students are critical of the reminders, others, like senior Lisa Zhukova, say they're what got them to enter in the first place.
I think the reason why I decided to enter was because they sent out the email reminders, and I figured, okay, it's finally time. Time to go, put on a jersey, cheer on the team.
Zhukova entered the lottery for the first time this year, after 4 years of ignoring basketball. And she's won each time she's entered, which she says creates some tension between her and her senior friends who aren't as lucky.
I'm like hardly a fan. I don't deserve these tickets at all, but I'm very grateful that I got to go. Like, the lottery worked for me.
Cohen, who hopes to attend as many games as possible before he graduates next spring, has had to resort to the standby line this season.
I did the standby line for the first time this year. I was expecting it to be terrible, but it actually ended up being a super easy experience.
And Cohen is on to something. The ticket office says this season, every single student who has joined the standby line has made it into the game. Carolina Athletics says on average, students should win the lottery once every 6 games, but it hopes more students take advantage of the standby line as a last resort. In Chapel Hill, I'm Molly Jordan, reporting.
Now, students have one more chance to enter the student lottery this season, and that is the home game versus Duke next week.
Construction is underway at the historic Bell Tower, but the work won't affect one of Carolina's grandest traditions. Crews are working on the area around the 88-year-old landmark. UNC's graduating class will still be able to make the 128-step climb up the Bell Tower later this spring. This year's annual journey to the top of the tower will take place on Wednesday, April 10th, with a rain date scheduled for the following day.
Around the world, renewable energy initiatives are aiming to replace fossil fuels. By 2020, UNC was supposed to be part of that movement, but now that's looking much less likely. The university has asked for a 5-year permit renewal to keep the coal cogeneration plant on Cameron Avenue operating. The plant generates 1/3 of the electricity used on campus, but it's also responsible for about half of the greenhouse gas emissions. The university says burner modifications at the plant should increase the use of natural gas and decrease coal usage by 1/3 by the end of the year. UNC now plans to be coal neutral by 2050.
The Muslim Students Association is working to change the way Muslims are stereotyped in the media. Hundreds packed into the Great Hall on Friday night to enjoy sweets, socialize, and laugh together, all while tackling the issue of the media's framing of Muslims. Late Night with MSA featured 2 popular Muslim comedians, Dean Abedallah and comic writer Huda Fahmy. UNC junior Safa Ahmed says the goal of the event is to use humor to show how much we all have in common.
We're just as human as everyone else. We laugh about the same things, and other people can laugh about them too. So this event is meant to bring us together as communities, and we can laugh all about the same things.
This is the second Late Night held by MSA, and they say they're planning for more.
The Chinese community is also giving Carolina a taste of its culture. Chapel Hill celebrated Chinese New Year with its 3rd annual Light Up the New Year festival. People of all ages came together over the weekend to celebrate the Year of the Pig. Attendees decorated lanterns, umbrellas, and other traditional crafts. Performers also showcased their culture and talents. Organizers say this festival is a great way to spread knowledge of Chinese culture to a larger audience.
We have a big Asian population here, so we thought it's a great idea for us to share this festival with the whole community.
And although the new year has now just started, organizers say planning has already begun for next year's festival.
Well, I wish it was festival weather today.
I know, me too. The cold and rain has kept us inside most of the week, but there are sunny skies ahead. Let's go to Marin Harold for our forecast.
Good afternoon, Chapel Hill. I'm standing in front of South Building, and after a few days of glorious weather, we're back to the dreariness. I hate to say it. So when you're grabbing that jacket today, grab an umbrella because the rain we saw this morning will continue intermittently throughout the week. And if you're going to Fight Night tonight, be sure to bring that umbrella too. Let's take a look at the weather. Today's high is going to be a mere 50 degrees with a low of 44 degrees. That low is going to continue tomorrow at 44, but we'll get a little bit toastier at 61. So you might be able to take the jacket off. On Friday, we're stuck in the 40s with a high of 49 and a low of 42. All right, that brings me to the weekend. Let's hope your plans are inside because it's going to be 59 degrees as a high, and as a low, it's going to be 38 degrees. And on Sunday, we're getting even chillier. It's going to be 56 degrees as a high and 36 as a low. Now, back to you, studio.
Coming up, an inside look at UNC's eSports Club. Carolina Week Sports after the break.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Colleen Brown. The Syracuse Orange came to town Tuesday night to take on the 5th-ranked Tar Heels, who were hoping to get a win streak going and improve their ACC and NCAA tournament seedings. Syracuse and UNC battled it out in the first half, with Cuse taking a narrow lead into the locker room. But the Heels pulled away at the start of the second with a 15-3 run. Now the Orange got into foul trouble and UNC knocked those free throws in, shooting 92% from the line. The momentum of the game changed in the second half when Kenny Williams threw down a breakaway dunk that gave the Heels a lead they would not lose. Kobe White and his count 6 3-pointers just could not be stopped. After a string of below-average games, White dropped a season-high 34 points to help clinch the W, 93-85. Luke May says impressive
we just
helps.
attacked. And I mean, when Nas has 4, I have 5 offensive rebounds. I mean, it's huge. And Kenny is getting to glass as well. I mean, coach has been preaching trying to get to the offensive boards. And I mean, against the zone, it's a little bit harder to box out because you don't really have a man. And I thought we did a great job of getting to the glass.
It's hard to stop. I've been saying this all year. We got guys that can score from just about anywhere. You know, you saw Nas had a big game. Kobe gets big games. Kenny gets big games. Garrison even popped one up. Luke, myself. So we just got a lot of guys, and that makes.
Now be on the lookout for the next AP poll. UNC could overtake Duke after the Devils lost to Virginia Tech, assuming the Heels win against Clemson this Saturday. Now UNCW came to Chapel Hill on Tuesday afternoon, trying to disrupt the Diamond Heels' perfect season and nearly pulled it off. Starting in the top of the 5th, Doug Angeli knocks in Adam Smith, giving the Seahawks a 2-0 lead. Later in the same inning, the Heels would strike back when Jackson Hesterly singled to send Adam Smith home. Dylan Harris tied up the game with a ground ball up the middle, and Ashton McGee takes advantage. UNCW would take the lead back, but it wouldn't last long, as Ben Kasparius hits a fly ball that gives McGee just barely enough time to make it home. That set up the last play of the game, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, no one on base, and Dylan Enweiler hits a walk-off home run. This gives Carolina the 4-3 win. Enweiler says it felt great to win the game for his team.
It was a really good feeling. Just in the last inning, walk-offs are always fun. Just a celebration. We've had a few this last week, so we've been lucky, but definitely a cool feeling.
The Heels have made a name for themselves as comeback kids. The team scored the winning run in the seventh inning or later in 4 of its 8 wins. 2 of the 8 were walk-off victories that helped the Heels maintain the nation's best home win streak, now up to 26 in a row. And everybody get excited because I am back at it with that esports grind. I visited the club esports team here at UNC to learn a little bit more about the sport and the team's fight for recognition. Co-president of UNC's esports club, Ann Chow, says esports aren't that different from traditional sports.
First of all, is the whole teamwork aspect. A lot of games are team-based. So there's really no difference, in my opinion, if you're playing on a soccer team than if you're playing on an Overwatch team.
The esports club has multiple teams for a variety of different games. They compete against other universities' club and varsity teams in games like Rocket League, Super Smash Bros., and Overwatch.
Focus ball.
Most universities recognize esports as an athletics club. Some, like Georgia Tech, even have a varsity team. But esports in Chapel Hill is considered a social club, and co-president Shane Steele Pardue wants to change that.
Obviously, we're kind of fighting against the traditional view of like video games aren't really a serious sport, and like the main argument is that it doesn't require physical activity.
While players aren't running around, it's not all fun and games. There is an adrenaline rush from playing. Reaction time and muscle memory are key, and the mental stress can be difficult.
There's always that kind of fight that esports is, not a sport, even though you have teams and even though you're as competitive. Not being recognized as a sport makes some of the players feel a little bit left out of the whole scene.
Esports has tried to become an athletics club for the past 2 years and plan to apply again. That's all for Carolina Week Sports. Be sure to check out Sports Extra Friday at noon.
Coming up, while many Franklin Street businesses don't last 2 years, we'll tell you about one that's been around for almost a century. Next.
Making just one connection during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HEALTH. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Did you know the oldest continually running restaurant in North Carolina is actually right here in Chapel Hill?
That's right. I had the chance to find out more about this Carolina tradition. Kyle Shea has been the general manager at Carolina Coffee Shop for a little over a year. That's just a fraction of the time the restaurant has been around.
We are the oldest restaurant in North Carolina that's been in the same location.
While the shop has undergone some renovation since its founding in 1922, it's also kept some of its history.
The brick's still here. These booths have been here since, I want to say, like the 60s or 70s.
And some special dishes have been preserved as well.
A dessert, for example, is the Choo Choo Justice. What I'm told is he used to sit in here and eat old stale pound cake. So our version of the dessert is a pound cake with ice cream, whipped cream, strawberries, and things on it, but it's named after him. That's been around for a really long time.
I decided to give it a taste for myself. Let's just say there's a reason it's stuck around. And it's not just the food that's kept Carolina coffee shops so popular.
I would describe it as just a very friendly place to go and meet people and just kind of relax. It's really the atmosphere that I like more than anything.
And the atmosphere of the shop changes a little throughout the week.
Sunday, we get the whole church crowd and we have the classical music still going. But then Saturday, it's game day and Bloody Marys are flowing. And then during the week, you get your people eating breakfast, lunch, coffee, studying, students. All faces of Chapel Hill come through here.
Wow, that Choo Choo Justice dessert looked so good.
It was so good. I'm not even kidding. Actually, Carolina Coffee Shop in general is just my favorite restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, dead serious. That's not an endorsement. They didn't pay me to say that. That's a true compliment from the heart. So.
Well, there you go. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.